Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this week's presentation for province-wide rounds. My name is Genevieve McMillan, and today we are going to hear from Dr. Gao, our department head, and our vice chairs, Drs. Wellington, Huntsman, Côté, and Nimmo, as well as Craig Ivany, about initiatives within the department and within PLMS. Before I turn this over to Dr. Gao, I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from the ancestral and unceded territories of the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. Dr. Gao, over to you.
Thank you. I'll start sharing my screen. Yeah, you can take out yours. Well, thank you everyone for joining us in this Friday combined PLMS and the Department of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine business meeting. And I have three agenda items for my presentation. One is external review. One is the priorities for the next year. Can you guys hear me well? Increase the volume, and then briefly, inform everyone about the upcoming Pathology Day. So I put up this first slide here. Maybe you can take a snapshot so that you can know where to find the full report of the external review. Basically, it is in our pathology departmental website, and password protected. So you log into the website, you use this reviewer report 2024, then you can see the entire full report of external review. I want to utilize this opportunity to thank everyone for their participation and providing feedbacks to the reviewers, and so that they have a good view of the departmental situation and provide some insightful recommendations. So the review report overall was hugely positive. They made lots of positive comments. So these are a brief list of the things they positively commented. Our leadership team and administrative process and support, and my engagement opportunities by visiting different sites, provincial rounds, bi-monthly bulletin, EDI committee, new organization structure, our strategic plan, our efforts in balancing the budget, and create the promising clinical buyout program, a transparent process in selecting and appointing leadership positions, and success in faculty renewal applications and the CRC applications, and the mentorship program, the skill and the quality of education activities, and the grant success and the research output of the department, and overall the department's collaboration and contribution within the Faculty of Medicine, the university, and the society. So there's a lot of positive comments, and they were very impressed. We're very impressed with the excellent work done by everyone in our department. But in the meantime, the reviewer has provided some very insightful recommendations. Here, just a briefly capture some of the important recommendations. The first one is that our clinical faculty do not have sufficient protected time for teaching. So the second was the relationship between UBC department head and the VGH site is an issue. This was mentioned 6 times in this 25-page report. And so something needs to be done with that. And the department might be better located at the university instead of being located in the sub-basement of UBC hospital. The financial viability of the department. The UBC department head should be directly involved in selection, search, and recruitment of medical and scientific leaders at affiliated institutions. The UBC department head or designated must be directly or meaningfully involved in the performance assessment, evaluation, and career planning for academic department members, particularly those in leadership positions. And there's a lot of things that I must do. UBC department head designated must be involved in selection and recruitment of every clinician who requires an academic appointment, irrespective of geographic location or health authority jurisdiction. So this actually is a lot of work. We're trying to find a way of implementing this. This was actually on the recommendation of 2014's Departmental External Review report and was not implemented for the past 10 years. So it's come up again. So all teaching faculty should have a academic appointment regardless of geographical location. So these are the recommendations to the administration side. On the scientific educational side, so the first thing they said, our PLMC program needs to be modified. The curriculum and the way the streams of the students to make sure the students has a job after graduation. They could either go to this certification in the healthcare system or other professional programs. Secondly, the department should consider developing computational pathology, informatics, and AI programs, teaching programs. And graduate students do not really have a home at UBC, and they are distributed at different research centers and institutes, and they chose their courses close to their lab. But we need to have a funded place that become a home for all the graduate students. And lastly was the stipend for students. Vancouver is an expensive city, and the stipend for graduate students is low, and so we need to find a way to make sure our students is well compensated so that at least they can survive in this expensive place. So on the clinical education side, again, and this was the first one was on a recommendation of the 2014 departmental external review as well, is the department needs to advocate with the government for creating a pathologist assistant program, which we're working on it right now. The second, the department it needs to increase its presence in the medical school teaching, because I know the exposure to pathology is directly linked the success of recruitment to medical students in the pathology residency and into the laboratory disciplines. So we need to put some more teaching, and in fact, in medicine, medical school. Then for the postgraduate program, so there's emphasis about digital pathology and implementation, and trainees approach with artificial intelligence, computational pathology, and also another mention about the teaching time protection for the staff pathologists and reduce their workload so that they can do the residency teaching. So these are the issues identified for the clinical educational side. On the research side, there are several recommendations. One is more integration between the clinical faculty and the researchers. And secondly, the department should have more integration to enhance the department. Can be enhanced if the department has a centralized space. Where we're trying to work with the faculty of medicine, trying to find a central space within the diamond or somewhere close to the research institutes, so that our researchers and clinical scientists can have a central space to be more integration and discussion on the research direction. And another gap is the decline of the number of clinician scientists. And also there's we need to balance our research portfolio. Seems like we have more cancer researchers than other kind of the other directions of research scientists. We need to enhance our interactions among research faculty and who are physically dispersed across multiple locations. And another thing mentioned was that there's several our distinguished international leading research scientists will likely to retire the next decade. So recruiting people with similar potential or caliber would be a challenge, particularly with the financial constraints from the university budget side. So those are recommendations to the department that we could address, which actually I'm working with my vice chairs and Genevieve to working on the response to every single recommendations and discussing with the dean and how to implement those recommendations. But there are several recommendations that's beyond the department control. For example, reconfigure the UBC Faculty of Medicine budget to support the pathology of laboratory medicine. So that's the recommendation to the university, to the Faculty of Medicine. Again, the second thing is university should be involved in the negotiation, contract negotiation at academic clinical sites, particularly in affiliated hospitals, so that to ensure a protection of academic and teaching time for clinical faculty members. Proper funding for PLMC, and 25 years ago, there's a funding number defined to the PLMC program. The cost of living has increased significantly, and about the funding remains still the same. So, for 25 years, there's a huge, increase in cost, but the funding come from the university to the program is still the same. So that's the problem. And also funding support for clinical fellowship programs. Right now, there are, scattered funding from different health authorities. There's no actual university funding for clinical fellowships. So these are the recommendations to the university side. So these are the, a brief capture of the external review report. Again, if you want to read the full report, please go to this website and department website and put in this password. You can see it. Okay, so this is the first thing on my side. The second thing is about the priorities 2025. As you all know that in the past year, thanks to everyone involved, there was lots of efforts, combined efforts, we have developed our departmental strategic plan. And then in 2024 was the first year of implementation. There was a lot of success, and reflected in the talks from our vice chairs and myself before the end of last year. And at the same time, at the end of last year, as we promised, each year by the end of the last year, we'll summarize or celebrate our successes and also make plans for the next year, so that we can have a continuous efforts towards our preset goal for the department. So this department priorities is a summary, concise summary of the presentation of myself and all the vice chairs about our plans for the 2025. I want to lead it out to everyone, and please watch us and keep us accountable for whether we can deliver those. The first is the response and action on the external review recommendations, of course. The secondly, so last year, and Mike and myself visited the island, which is a hugely pleasant experience. And this year we're planning to visit interior health. So we're going to make that arrangement. So, and further on the line of improving the relationships between the UBC department and the VGH. Now I'm start attending VGH, finally I'm start attending the VGH staff meetings after 3 years being here. So then the plan is for me to meet with all newly recruited clinical faculties at affiliated hospitals, which will be a lot of meetings for me. There's about 50 to 60 of them in the past 3 years. And to launch the clinician scientist program, which is going to be led by Dr. David Huntsman. So on the research side, under the leadership of Dr. Wellington and Dr. Huntsman, we're going to start working on the research scientist recruitment and succession planning process. And Dr. Wellington will continue actually work on and expand this very successful grant application, pathology grant application practicum program. So it's already sending out invitations for participation already. Thanks, Cheryl. And then Cheryl and Debbie will work on the asset map on biobanks, biomarkers, core facilities, and the researchers, so that everyone's research interests and are visible to collaborators and to potential students. So on the education side, there are quite a few things we want to work on. One is Hélène, Dr. Côté, and Debbie will be working on the establishing a teaching database, so matching faculty's expertise with the teaching needs. And Amanda has kindly agreed to reintroduce a structured peer teaching evaluation process, which was there and discontinued for a few years. Now she wants to reactivate that program. And Dr. Nimmo will lead the next 3 items. One is this is the new hematopathology program director has been appointed. I want to thank Dr. Katie Chipperfield for years of service as a program director of hematopathology, and welcome Dr. Christine Maha for taking on this new position. So continue working on obtaining approval for the pathologist assistant program, and approval for the developing of the clinical fellowship program for PhDs, clinical PhDs, and Titus will lead with the support of Genevieve and Annalyn, will lead for the implementation of a new curriculum of the infection prevention and control program, and Dan Dr. Holmes has kindly agreed to lead for the establishment of a biostatistics course, and which will be a new course offered to everyone. And then Dr. Nimmo will lead establish a repository for teaching materials for courses, classes, and clinical that clinical faculties teach. So these are on the educational side. There are one new priority will be led by Dr. Andrew Madman, is the planetary health, which is added to our strategic plan, and because it's importance of everyone understanding the importance of saving the earth, so Titus will be supported by Titus and Craig on the clinical side. So these are the priorities for the next year. So lastly, I wanted to just as information for this year's Pathology Day will be on May 30th, and at the same venue at VGH Auditorium. The theme of this year is A Journey Inside the Brain. And then we have 3 distinguished speakers: Dr. Harry Winters from UCLA, a distinguished neuropathologist, and Dr. Veronica Hirsch-Rishagen and Dr. Wellington will be our internal speaker. So this is going to be a theme on A Journey Inside the Brain. Yeah, please come. Sorry, I have. Okay. So these are my updates. Is there any questions for me? Maybe I can stop share right now. Any questions or comments to my? Sorry, I speak very fast because the content's a lot of content there. Okay, we'll leave some time for discussions afterwards. Maybe if there's no immediate questions from me, we can discuss later. Maybe I'll hand it over. I believe the next one is Cheryl for an update, right? Yeah, so I'll give our Vice Chair of Research, Dr. Wellington, for updates.
Unmute myself. Thank you so much, Dr. Gao. So I'm very, very happy to provide. Oh, I'm getting some echoes. I don't know. There we go. So I'm very happy to provide some updates on where the research portfolio is at right now. I'll start with the pathology grant application practicum course. This is its 2nd year running within the pathology program. This year we have 18 registrants, and they consist of 9 students, 3 postdoctoral fellows, and 2 staff, as well as 4 faculty. So this year's faculty members are very nicely balanced between the clinical and the basic. So we have Tara Spence, Katie Enfield, Dan Lee, and Yemen Wang, who are attending the course. We are now at the stage. This is so for those of you who might not be familiar with this program. This is a structured mentorship course of about 14 weeks duration, where participants will receive about 10 hours of instruction on all aspects of preparing a competitive research proposal and demystifying what happens in the review process. The registrants are able to compete for a $15,000 one-year seed grant. And in this year's cycle, we've had 9 letters of intent that have been received for this seed grant. So I'll be reaching out to faculty members to try to, now that I know what might be coming in as far as full applications, make sure that we have enough content experts on the review panel to go over these applications. One of the amazing things about this proposal or this program is that the registrants can compete for a grant. There are also quite a few participants who have put up their hand to say, no, I want to be a reviewer. So we will have the participants act as a primary reviewer, and then they're going to be backed up by experienced faculty reviewers to enable the unprecedented ability to sit on a real review panel and come up with a list of 2 grants that we can fund in this cycle. We're targeting between April and May to hold the review panel. I've reached out to several people already, but I might need more. So just keep that in mind. We'd love your participation. Last year, it was incredibly successful, and we have our 2 winners last year have come back to serve as reviewers for this cycle of the program. That will round out their whole experience in taking this practicum from being an applicant, getting a grant, and then returning the favor and being a good citizen to serve as a reviewer. And so I'm really happy with how this program is going. It's been, and the metrics of success have been absolutely spectacular. Where we have some further potential is to take advantage of some of the newer opportunities to create a micro-certificate for the graduates of this program. So I'm looking into some of those opportunities for hopefully this cycle, if not next, and we will see if we can retroactively provide a certificate for people that have taken this course. So especially for the clinician scientists who might not have a lot of research training, I do encourage you to take the course or at least speak with some of the faculty that have taken the course. I really am going to be looking for a lot of feedback on how helpful this has been to really launch the successful academic programs of our research faculty, both basic and clinical. I would like to introduce another topic that kind of builds on this and extends it beyond, the real sort of new researchers to the program. And I'm calling this the Pitch and Polish program. And it's a much more larger in scope, but I'd be very interested in getting some feedback from everybody today. So I'm going to do a little bit of a sidetrack to share some of the history that I've had with a network called the Canadian Critical Care Trials Group. This is an organization that has been running for about 35 years now and has been very successful in launching successful clinical trials and grants for clinical trials in the domain of critical care medicine. What they do at their meetings, which are held twice a year, are not to present fully fledged research results, but to pitch the new trials or a resubmission of an unsuccessful grant application, where your reviewers are basically part of the audience, and they will help guide refinement of questions, analysis of statistical design, how to address specific reviewers' concerns, put up their hands if they can be an additional site. I was originally very, it was a new concept of how to operate as a network of investigators that come from very, very different backgrounds and geographical distributions. But I've become a convert to how they can guide, especially the development of new applications that have essentially gone through a round or 2 of questions and development as if you were able to get a peer review before it goes in for real. So I would like to see if the department would like to hold or trial such a program where investigators at any level of seniority, but really we're going to be, emphasizing again the clinician scientists to come pitch their program with the idea of what can you offer and what are you looking for in terms of collaboration, access to infrastructure, specific expertise. This might be another way to catalyze synergies across the department, especially across our geographical distribution and the clinical and basic faculty. So this is something that I've been working on behind the scenes, introducing it now for the first time. I'm hoping to launch the first cycle, maybe in the late fall in time for next spring's CIHR competition. But if you want to hear more or discuss with me, more details of what I have in mind, please contact me and I can set up a sort of a more fully fledged discussion section. I'm also very well aware of the uncertainties that are happening across the border with funders like the NIH or DoD, National Science Foundation, et cetera, which are undergoing a lot of strain right now. With the National Institutes of Health, there was originally a pause on study sections being run. Those are up and running right now, and for the other agencies that I have been in touch with, including Department of Defense, there's the reviews are happening. Whether new grants will be approved to be funded, whether there'll be restrictions on funding into Canada remains to be seen. So I will update everybody when I know more information. We know from our records that we have 14 active NIH grants across 10 faculty and 8 active DoD grants across 5 faculty. And so for those of you who hold an NIH or DoD funding, if you are uncertain as to what's going to happen with your grant, please let me know, and we can have set up a chat as well. There hasn't been any leadership statement coming from UBC with respect to how to deal with the potential pauses or, heaven forbid, withdrawal of our U.S. funding sources. So I think that there's really an opportunity for our department to step into a leadership position by working across those of us who hold U.S. funded grants as to how we are going to make sure the data that are produced from there can at least be retained in a safe way and not subject to potential stripping of data, as has happened with the Centers for Disease Control recently. So again, please contact me if you want to discuss any concerns that you might have about grants that are funded across the border. With respect to progress on the biobank, thanks to Debbie, we now have a list. I'm sure you can't read this, but this is a list of people that do hold collections of tissues or biobanks. Those are listed in green. And then a list of investigators that are really wanting to collaborate with respect to banking or banked tissues or specimens. Those are listed more in the orange color. What is really, missing here is, a lot of controls. And so I wonder if there's some synergies that could happen to enable us to leverage other sources to build up those for these banks. But now that we do have this list, once the CIHR deadlines are passed and I can come up for air, I will be sending out an email to this list to establish who would like to be on a working group to kind of look at where can we evolve additional synergies, again, really to support coming together of basic and clinical research programs, and especially to support our clinical scientists that are going to be needing to take advantage of these. So that's where we are in the banks. Again, a huge shout out to Debbie for putting all of this together. There's been some new opportunities. Canada Research Chair call went out, and I believe the department is holding their meeting internally next week to be able to select the candidates that will go forward. And then Genevieve just put around the notice that there will be another cycle for the Canada Excellence Research Chairs. And so again, please contact me or Genevieve or both of us if you're interested in learning more, especially about the CERC program that will be launching. I think this will be another very valuable asset for the department. And we really do want to be able to identify strong candidates for this opportunity. Dr. Gao, that is all I have to share.
Oh, thank you. That's plenty. You've been extremely busy in leading all these initiatives. Thank you. I believe next one is David. Is it? Is it David here? Dr. Huntsman? Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, there's a question for Cheryl.
Oh, there's a question. Yes, please. I cannot see the hand. Who is raising the hand? Please speak out. I cannot see.
I don't see any hands either.
It might have been just a background noise.
Yeah. Okay.
So well, thank you for inviting me to speak a little bit about what we're calling the Clinician Scientist Career Acceleration Program. As I think everybody on the call kind of probably realizes that it's been a challenge for our department, and in fact all departments at UBC, to recruit clinician scientists or pathologists who want to engage in research. And yet there have been fantastic...
David, you're battling with an echo.
I am, and I'm only got one device open here, so I'm wondering if it comes from me. Now I'm not echoing.
It's great.
And I didn't do anything. Okay. I don't think no, I'm echoing again. Does anybody have two devices open?
I try again, David. I think the issue is resolved now.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So yes, I'm not echoing, but thank you. Thanks everybody for pointing that out. So we're facing a challenge. We want to renew our faculty, and we want to be the vehicle through which pathologists or clinical scientists who would like to engage in research and become more fully engaged in the academy can do that. So to deal with that, we've decided to experiment with a program, which again, we're calling the CAP program, and it would allow us to support protected research time for individuals who've been recruited into the clinical domain to engage in research. And what we're looking at is 5 years of funding with $50,000 a year. We would hope that this funds would be leveraged with additional support coming from the home site of the faculty members whose careers are being developed. We would require to have a plan for how this career would develop. We're there to help make that happen. There would need to be a strong mentorship committee, approval, of course, of the clinical site for the individual to be starting to spend more time on research. And we'd hope to get these individuals to a point where they can get peer-reviewed funding and additional salary support. We're going to be starting with 2 positions this year, and we're going to want to expand that in future years. There are unanswered questions. For instance, how at the end of these 5-year periods, how will we be able to extend support? And I'm not going to pretend we have answers for those as well. Other issues include, if somebody's on the clinical stream, how can they apply for a Canada Research Chair if the university is still requiring those individuals to change their paymaster? That's something also we have to address, because that's absolutely a non-productive stance for UBC to take. But with those provisos, we believe that getting consistent salary support for 5 years, assistance in trying to leverage it into more support, will be really transformational for people's careers. And we're hoping there will be some sort of enthusiastic response when the call goes out. This is not limited to pathologists or clinical scientists working in the Lower Mainland. Anybody can apply, but there does need to be a robust plan and a mentorship committee, which could be a virtual committee, but that does need to be in place. I would be happy to attempt to address questions, should there be any, and when the email goes out, there's certainly going to be a way of asking questions afterwards, should anybody want to inquire before replying. And again, we view this as the beginning of something special, and it's, if, as with time, if we can get 2, 3, 4 a year, we will actually build up a cadre of people who are, very productive members of our clinical community, but also more engaged in research and trying to build their academic careers. No, well, I'm sure there may be questions later, and we'll look forward to engaging with you with this program.
Well, thank you, David. Well, just thank Genevieve and everyone's extraordinary efforts of fixing our budget situation and get us here, and which is we're in a much advantageous situation. As you guys probably do not know that when the university comes up with its continuing research chair call, and the most, if not all other departments that cannot afford even to recruit a new person into the continuing research chair stream, and we are able to recruit one. So we're in a very, very unique situation. There's a question. Dennis have a question. Dennis, please go ahead.
Oh, it's not a question for the moment. Thank you. I will have questions just about the structure of how the clinical scientist role could be maintained, I guess, like service-wise, with and balancing with the appointment, I guess. I don't know exactly what my question is. I just kind of hoping that you could send the email, get a little bit of information, and I could review it and then ask something a little bit more targeted.
So the career development plan will have to be worked out with an individual's host institution. So for instance, if they're at Providence Health, their head of pathology there would have to obviously approve an individual spending time away from their clinical duties and support the overall ambition of career development, which as yourself or someone like you would be expressing through applying. So it will still have to be developed. The actual career development will have to take place in partnership with whatever clinical site you operate in. But I'll be happy once we send around more details to engage in a discussion with you.
Yeah, that would be great. I would also have questions just surrounding like, so you said the seed money is for salary, but for as far as like infrastructure, lab space, student support, that kind of stuff, there would be a lot of questions around that as well.
Sure.
Okay, if there's no other questions, maybe we can get Dr. Côté to do her part around education, scientific education.
I'm having to join on my iPad because my laptop is giving me issues. Is my sound okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So I'm just going to talk today about the peer evaluation of teaching for members of our department. As I mentioned in our past updates, Dr. Amanda Bradley, who is a professor of teaching in our department, associate professor of teaching in our department, has graciously accepted to be the champion of our peer evaluation system, if you want. And she has been actively working at it, has been connecting with people who serve on the Sprott committee, as well as people who basically led this peer evaluation system in the past in our department, but things had kind of fallen on the wayside. There is, I know we remind everybody that getting a peer evaluation of teaching is a crucial part of one's teaching dossier that has to be prepared for promotion purposes. This is true clearly for academic faculty, but I believe also important for clinicians and clinical faculty. And so she's working on documents that will serve both types of evaluation. And we are aiming to have things clarified up on the website around May, but things are feasible before that. And if anyone requires peer evaluation of teaching, they are welcome to contact Amanda Bradley through email. A reminder also, these things should not be planned at the last minute and rushed. So we will be asking Dr. Gao to ask each person when he meets them annually if they have had their peer evaluation and if they've planned it. We will remind course coordinators that the lecturers in their classes should consider having their class peer evaluated. And typically this evaluation would involve a short meeting ahead of the peer evaluation to determine what are the goals, what are the aspects that the teacher is working on, and then the peer evaluation takes place, and then a follow-up to see how that went. And then similarly, these evaluations, there should be more than one, so that we can see progression of one's teaching, and so that recommendation can be made about potential workshops that somebody could take to improve on their teaching. I think I will stop here, and I will ask if anybody has questions.
No, I have a question for Dr. Côté. In the past year, Dr. Côté has actually spent a lot of time in revitalizing this PLMSC program and recruiting a new director. You guys probably already seen the bulletin today, it just came out, that announcing the new program director. We're having a very excellent candidate joining us as the new program director for PLMSC. And so that's another, and also she spent a lot of time into updating the curriculums for the graduate program and done a lot of work. Thank you, Hélène.
I should mention, yeah, Dr. Anuli Uzozi will be joining our department as of May 1st as the new director of the BMLSC, and we are really looking forward to her joining. Thank you.
Everyone for participating in the 3 rounds of search and selection process. Finally, we get the best candidate we can. Yeah, and thank you for your leadership, Hélène. Anybody else has any questions to Dr. Côté? No, and the next one is Dr. Nimmo's updates, and Mike is away. He sent me a list. I'll just do this update on his behalf on the clinical educational side. So these are the few updates. First, I already mentioned about the hematopathology, and thanks to Katie for years of leadership in the HEMPAS program, and welcome Christine Maham for becoming the new program director. And also in the microbiology, macro side, I want to thank Chris, Dr. Loy for his many years of service as the program director as well, and welcome Michael Penn. Dr. Michael Penn is the new program director for MedMacro. The second thing is, as you probably know, some of you definitely know that in the past few years, the number of clinical fellows in our department has skyrocketed. So now we probably have about 14. Even I believe Shelley can correct me if I'm not wrong. This year we have the similar numbers next year. So now. If you have 2 or 3 fellowship programs, you can manage by the program directors or in different ways. But we have such a big program, it requires a standard process administration and more coordinated a application process, advertisement, all this work. And thanks to Shelley and everyone involved in the admin's office. And we're in the process of trying to recruit a director for the clinical fellowship program, so to coordinate all the clinical fellowships in the department. So the third thing on the residency training part, CAMLPR match has completed, CAMLPR interview has completed. So I have a lot of interest, a lot of good candidates. We'll see whether we can this translate to acceptance by the time of the announcement. So there's potential issues about space, but actually space are tight in all teaching sites. But the residents are back in AP and seems working well in terms of the teaching space in the VGH side, I believe is talking about. For medical students, as recommended by the external review, that we need to have more awareness for medical students about pathology and laboratory medicine as a discipline. So we have, mentorship opportunities. We have made that available, and the various events are scheduled to meet medical students, to inform them about pathology and laboratory medicine. Hopefully, we can attract more applications to our discipline. At digital pathology, there's a new scanner has arrived, delivered to VGH. Will provide an excellent resource for HIMPAS and AP residents there. And pathology assistant program, which Mike has been working on with the support of Genevieve and Hélène, but we're waiting for the government to respond. And Craig has been helping us with doing a provincial survey on the need and help us to communicate with the ministry as well. And there's other things Mike mentioned. I do not know the specifics. He said new courses and initiatives are being developed to address the perceived needs. I believe that's in response to the external reviews recommendations as well. So yeah, if there's any questions, I can answer. If I will answer. If not, I believe Shelley is here can answer from the clinical education side. Anybody has any comments or questions? Oh, Jeff, you raised your hand. Please, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, sorry, I know you might not know the answer to this question because Mike's not here, and I can try to ask him differently. But the scanner for the resident, was that bought for the residents, or was that part of the Provincial Digital Pathology Initiative? And actually, maybe Craig might know this. I don't know.
I do not know. I assume this is for the Digital Pathology Initiative. The resident advantages.
Okay, that's fine. I'll ask Mike the next time I see him.
I can actually answer that really quick. No, we didn't have the money in the residency program to buy one.
Okay, thanks, John.
Yeah, so I've got a question, Cedric here. Medical student teachings, largely PBL, problem-based learning now. What's our input into the PBL to ensure they get their exposure to pathology in the PBL program? Now, I guess I should pass it on to Mike, but I'm not aware of the process at the moment.
This has been a challenge. Actually, it has been a national challenge because, previously, every university medical school has this a structured pathology courses. Yeah, everyone has to take one. That's probably one of my time. Probably it's your time, Cedric. So, but after the problem-based teaching, we basically taking out the structured pathology teaching course, and then the awareness of pathology and exposure to medical students to pathology has been an issue across the the country. This was made awareness because actually we are in an advantageous situation in Vancouver because we almost always get a fair numbers of good applicants and fill our spots easily. But in other places, in many other places, we do not get enough internal Canadian medical graduates to apply. So they always has to go through the second rounds. So the application for the residency training program has been a challenge, and more severely to other places. Yeah. So how do I address this? Actually, I'm working with Mike and his team trying. And all these program directors trying to address this together. There's a lot of initiatives on these particular things. Actually also working on the response to the external reviewers' comments about this. So our plans are working to reach out to UGME curricular committee to identify opportunities to increase pathology exposure in year 1 and year 2. And augmenting the elective opportunities for medical students in pathology and laboratory clinical labs for year 3 and year 4. Maybe and create a research and teaching awards for medical students, and even develop a laboratory discipline interest group within the medical school class. So these are the things that we were thinking to implement, but it takes time. So I needs the support and joint efforts with all the program directors and Mike and Shelley and her team as well. Yeah. Long answer. Sorry. Anybody else has questions in this direction, or any comments? If not, I'll hand it over to Craig for your PLMS update. Please, Craig.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Gao. I'm going to share my screen. If you just give me a moment here. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Not yet, Craig.
Not yet? Okay. Let's see here. How are we looking now?
It looks like it's just loading.
Okay, well, sorry about that. And I recognize that I recognize that we don't have a lot of time left. And what I was thinking about was perhaps I'll leave these. I'll send this deck along to Genevieve to make available to everybody. So I wanted to touch on 4 things today. I wanted to talk about the Provincial Digital Pathology Progress Report, cross-sector engagement, credentialing changes for medical lab technologists, and an update on cellular therapy, some developments there. Very quickly, jumping into digital pathology, why it's a priority now. We know that we're seeing pressures on our pathology services across the province. And the demand is increasing and projected to further outpace capacity. And health organizations are experiencing critical shortages of professionals. And what we're hearing from BC Cancer is we should be expecting a 50% projected increase in demand for pathology over the coming decade, and that's a fairly substantive amount of work. And also, what we recognize through the digital pathology is its capacity and capability as a precursor for artificial intelligence. And we know as well, rural and remote areas tend to be underserved with respect to pathology. So this connective digital pathology, we have some quality outcomes that we're focused on, including reduced patient wait times, reduced times to molecular genomic testing, improved experience, rapid secondary consult reporting, cases shared and monitored virtually, the enabled ecosystem for AI, and increased patient equity. To be able to do this on a provincial scale, we've had to build a fairly substantive governance model. And this governance model is fairly elaborate, but also it's perhaps the most elaborate governance since our work as a system during the early days of COVID. So just wanted to highlight that it's fairly robust. We have connectivity to the senior leadership of the province, and the intent of the testbed project that we're working on is to actually drive a business case for provincial adoption of digital pathology. And over this past year, we've done a lot of work with Innovates BC and engaged with a number of our partners across the system to actually build out and understand the requirements and the requirements and the challenges associated with digital pathology, so that an effective business case could be built and an effective model could be tested as we go forward. So without these insights, building a comprehensive business case would have been really, really difficult. Just leave you with a kind of a bird's eye view of the reference architecture. It's fairly elaborate. I want to say that this was built in with our clinical leadership along with the technical folks in the province, and I think it's a real testament to that governance model that we have in place. We also see that artificial intelligence has a big opportunity with respect to digital pathology. We can take a leadership role in this position. And we've learned through this year that AI has tremendous value for practitioners as a decision support tool. And we are working to make it accessible to pathology practices and allow this capability to be used province-wide. And I think that's really driving access and equity for both patients and practitioners. And so critical work done to date. We've got a provincial connected system. We're continuing to work together. And we think that we've got a lot of positive work going on. Our next steps are to finalize a business case. We're targeting to have that completed in March with an expected horizon of 10 years, 3 tranches. Our current focus is on near-term funding for 25-26, but a lot of work going into that going forward. Just a word on the changes to medical lab technologists. In Canada, the CSMLS has been setting the national competency standards for over 80 years. Regulators across this country have been requesting more flexible pathways to registration for MLTs, particularly international educated, and have cited a demand for subject-specific field of practice certification. And so the Canadian Alliance of Medical Lab Professional Regulators have stepped in and are assuming responsibility for the national competency profile. And this change is expected to be implemented in November of this year. So PLMS is very much involved with it. We see it as, sorry, what have I done here? Yeah, so PLMS is very much involved with it. The opportunity, I think, here is to enable specific registrants for MLTs to address the workforce shortages and to tailor assessments in the 8 key fields of practice with options for bundled exams. So this really will allow quite a bit of flexibility going forward and open new pathways for candidates with related educational backgrounds to be to explore this educational or this career path. We see it as having a lot of flexibility for rural and remote workforce needs as well. And PLMS is taking the leadership on the provincial planning because there is not a regulatory college in the province. I'll just wrap up fairly quickly by saying PLMS is continuing cross-sectoral planning. We've been mandated to work with the provincial lab system to engage in cross-sector planning. And the feedback that we're getting is that we have to think about our lab system in a broad sense, recognizing that there are literally 15 different provider lab organizations in the province, thinking about how we drive lab services with our partnerships across the system while looking to the horizon for system level capabilities and investments. And I think the work we're doing in the HHR field and in digital pathology are just a couple of examples of the work that we're doing in that space. And I'll just wrap up and just talk a little bit about clinical cellular therapy laboratory. We're in the process of working through a planning exercise right now. We know that clinical cell therapy plays a role in cancers and transplants. And PHSA hosts 2 clinical cellular therapy labs, one at BC Cancer for adults and the other at Children's Hospital for pediatric. And these labs process, do the processing, cryopreservation, thawing, etc. Each lab holds complex yet similar equipment and staffed by highly trained technologists. And both labs are under the operational governance of PLMS. And the current state assessment and the feedback provided is that based on the demands for this service, it's recognized that both programs will not be able to have the capacity to sufficiently meet the needs and demands of the population. And recognizing that without a new facility, these programs will suffer going forward. So there's been a big push, and fortunately, there's been an investment opportunity under BC Cancer Action Plan to pull threads together to drive a lab model that will work for the province. So right now there's work underway to build a plan, and a lot of work going on with engagement with key stakeholders. That is ongoing and perhaps the most important part of the discussions at this point in time. And the plan is to consolidate the 2 clinical cell therapy labs into one location, providing cellular therapy services to adult alongside pediatric. A functional program for the project was completed in January 2025, and the target to go live in a new location is July of 2027. So we're quite optimistic about the fact that we have the financing in place to drive this important initiative forward. And we know that there's a lot of benefits, and importantly, it's the ability to cross-collaborate, reducing staffing risks while expanding specialized cell therapy technical and quality knowledge. So a lot going on in terms of PLMS, and I just wanted to highlight a few of the key things that are ongoing. And I know I've run over, and I'll stop there and hand it back to Dr. Gao. How do I stop this here?
Sorry to give you so little time.
No worries.
Any questions to Craig? Comments? Well, I would like actually commented for your very strong leadership and success. The digital pathology is a very good example that the pilot project already show a great success. Thank you for your leadership. And your team, actually team leadership, is a lot of people contribute to the success, and obtaining funding from the Innovate BC, and a lot of efforts, and made a huge difference. The certificate program that you're involved in the province, we probably could work together and get our PLMC program, see how our students can be trained toward that direction so that they have a job afterwards. Dr. Baba Karkas, please.
Yeah, hi, thanks. This is Vilta from Children's Hospital. Thanks for all the great updates, and really appreciate everyone's updates, both from UBC and from PLMS. Dr. Ivany, Craig, I just wanted to ask, thanks for shedding some light on the fact that PLMS is going to kind of take some responsibility for, I guess it sounds like, vetting or figuring out the pathways for internationally trained MLTs. Yeah. It's an interesting role to play. I am just kind of curious to know what movement there is in terms of regulating laboratory professionals in BC. It seems like a bit of a, I mean, are you anticipating that PLMS is going to evolve into a regulatory body, or is this a stopgap?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Do you have any insights into the process you're going to take to be able to support this? Because there's quite my understanding is it can be quite lengthy to vet education from various places in the world.
Yeah, so we will lean in on the CAMLPR organizations to help with the vetting, and yes, we have to do a lot of vetting work ourselves. We're setting up a coordination office to facilitate this transition. We will not be the regulator. I think that's built into, that's to be determined by legislation in this province. It creates a gap for us as we're trying to stay connected with the rest of the regulators and the provinces who are regulated across the country. And I think we're doing okay on that front. We've marshaled all of the necessary, I guess, parties to the table. So we're optimistic that we'll get out in front of it, but I think the gap still remains around regulating that profession, and I'm probably not the best person to comment on that. I don't know if Brenda Jackson is still on the call, but we can perhaps provide some more updates on that as this unfolds over the next year. Would that be helpful?
No, thanks for just even sharing that much.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Seems like this combined pathology and PLMS meeting is working very well. I'll make sure next time give you more time, Craig.
Yeah. Well, being from Newfoundland, I can't say hello in less than 30 minutes. So no matter where you put me on the agenda, I'll probably run out of time. It's all good. It's a pleasure to see everybody online, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, we have 70 people registered. It's very nice. Thank you all. Yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.